Something's real.
I want to ask you this question. What was your first time smoking, like that first time experience? How, like, was it like a cousin? Like, what was it?
It was a cousin. Yep. Family reunion. Yeah.
Okay.
2010.
That was kind of
It
my
was a
experience too. It was
okay.
a cousin of had mutual friends. Well, he's like at the time was like 18. And I was like, I want to say 12. And
Wow.
we were all hanging out with, a range of friends that were all in between the ages of like 15 and 20. And so we're in the Spanish culture. So we're very, like, it's very common for like young and older just to hang out. And I hit the weed for the first time. And I remember, like, I saw the blunt, like when they tried to pass it to me the second time, it like slowly like flew into my hand. And I was like, oh my God. And then like I was feeling so tired and I felt like the sandals were so heavy. So I took off my sandals and walked home barefoot for 10 minutes.
Damn.
I jumped in the shower.
You got high.
To the shower and passed out.
Okay. With the shower on?
Super high. I didn't pass out in the shower, but I put on some cold ass water because I was like, I think I might be having a heart attack. And
that's hilarious.
Then I didn't smoke weed again until I want to say 16. So.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I didn't smoke after that until a few years later. So yeah,
it was like
very similar stories. It's okay. Traumatized. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. A little traumatizing. Yeah. What happened on my end is that first I texted my cousin the next day, like, hey, can we smoke weed again? Because I fucking loved it. And it turned out that somehow the messages got like sent to the cloud. So my dad found it. He found out that I smoked and he like lost his shit. He like started like tracking me. And I eventually like got weed with my buddies to try. And the guy we got it from packed the bowl too tight, so we couldn't actually smoke weed. But we were so cheap that we're like, we can't throw it away. We just spent $20 between the three of us on this. And so we like passed it around to each other's houses. And it just so happened it was my turn to hold on to it. And I put it like in a sock in a drawer at the, and my dad searched the drawer and he found it. And he got so upset. He sent me to work at McDonald's, and it was like my social life really took a hit after that. So I'm like you, it was like almost traumatic. I was like, fuck, I'm not touching this shit.
Well, I need to ask you, how did it feel to get, first of all, you said it like you were sent to like Job Corps. Okay, you were sent to McDonald's. At least you made some money, bro. How was that experience? Like, you couldn't smoke, right? Because they were drug testing,
Well, I hadn't even smoked since I smoked with my cousins. Like, we didn't even get high because the guy packed it too tight. So I was just like, I was pissed because like we didn't even get high. And because we were too cheap, I got busted. Like, I could have gotten away with it if that's like not a theme at this point.
But I want to know if you ever read any parts of the Bible that made you go, I'm not sure if you've ever read the Bible, but a spiritual book that ever said to you that dying high is like one of the things that you should avoid. Because like it says even in the book, like, oh, you need to be sober minded to get to the kingdom of heaven, right? So it's like,
okay.
Do you ever think about that? Like, oh my God, what if I die now?
No, not at all. Oh. Is that something you thought of?
Yeah. Many times. So 18 days ago, my partner, he checked his bank account and he saw that somebody had withdrawn like $3,000.
Damn.
And it was somebody in New York City. And I'm pissed. I'm like, heck no, I can't believe this is happening. I'm like so pissed off. But I am at the same time high as a kite. And I felt my heart like super hard. And it got to this point where I went to the bathroom and I felt like life wasn't real. And that's when I knew, something's up. Like, I've never reacted like this to marijuana before, where yes, I get upset and I'm mad and
Wow.
I'm very in the moment. But this time it felt like I was completely outside of myself and I couldn't control my emotions or I couldn't regulate my heart. I couldn't calm down. And I was like, oh my God, it would suck if I died right now complaining about $3,000 and being high. Like, really, I'd be so embarrassed. Like, if there's I'm really embarrassed. Like, yeah, listen, I know that there was way more money in the account. Like, I could have just got the money back and my father could. I don't know.
Interesting. I've seen people use them. Yeah, nicotine's a big one for sure. That's no joke.
Yeah, nicotine. I never really liked nicotine, but the way the Elf Bar makes it taste, it makes
Oh, genius marketing. Yeah, good. Good. I never got into it. Damn.
But I know this guy. So see, I'm still doing my like marijuana thing. Like, you know, like in Florida, you're not. I live in Florida as well. You're not allowed to buy marijuana, and so you know you have to go through a middleman. You know, you have to go illegally. You know, and so over here, this is banned over here. But I got a guy, so I go to this guy and I'm like, you got that stuff? And he's like, you know what I'm saying? He pulls it out. He pulls it around. It's crazy, like how they've had to stop this because so many kids would buy this by the boatload. Kids would spend so much money on health bars. This is $30 a pop. So kids will come in there and spend $100. I have so many. I don't even want to show you. It's embarrassing. They're like,
we'll keep it hidden. Wow. That sounds so interesting. I've never heard of it. Like I smoke cigs and I imagine if it would have tasted better, I probably would have stuck with it. So, and what are they called? Elf Bar? Like when you said that originally, I thought you were saying like an energy bar. Like I was like, oh, she's like, snacking on energy bars. Nice. That's better than weed.
This is the new wave, and I feel like I sort of picked up another addiction because like I was already trying to let go of marijuana, and so I kind of was like, let me see if I can kind of pick up the Elf Bar so I could kind of, because I'd much rather just smoke the Elf Bar than smoke weed. Like I'm done with weed. I'm over it. So I want to ask you.
Right on. Yeah, it sounded like that was a powerful experience on the bathroom there, being like, oh fuck, this would be. On the toilet and angry about $3,000.
But so I want to ask you, any conspiracy theories about marijuana? Like, did you ever feel like there was? Because I feel like we were lied to about marijuana and what it does for us. So did you ever feel like there was like a lie that you uncovered, or that was being told to you, or some type of trap?
Absolutely. And, I don't think it was maybe intentional. It's something I'm kind of learning a lot about, and it could be too. So I want to preface that as well, that it could have been intentional. I think back to like cigarettes, right? When cigarettes came out, the advertising was that these are good for you, that if you take cigarettes, everyone's doing it, etc. And we know very obviously that cigarettes are terrible for you. And so I think that's just kind of what it was. It was like a new thing. I think everything gets compared to alcohol, and obviously weed, you can go to the grocery store stoned as fuck. So I think in that sense, people were just unaware of the negative side effects. Like people hadn't been using it and as strong as it is today for that long. And now that it's been 10, 20 years of some people using pretty regularly, the awareness is starting to come up into the mainstream that, okay, we can kind of mess you up, depending on your personality type, etc. So, yeah, I've never thought about it like a conspiracy theory, though, because we talked about that the other day, and I was like, that's a good point. Like, maybe they were trying to, like, kind of dumb us down to, make us more sheeple-like. It's like, well,
yeah, I do believe that was the point. Because I felt like, we were told, oh, this is going to make you feel good. You're going to be more creative. You're going to be this and that. But then it would stop. So I'm just like, isn't this supposed to be a continuous thing? Why do we hit a wall after a while? So that's why you start, bringing up the doses and start doing harder and going harder, smoking more, and it wasn't getting better. And I think that once people get addicted and then they're used to the repetitive cycle of smoking or spending the money,
yeah,
blah blah blah. It's hard to get away. It's hard to get away, and then it's so much easier to trust what the government tells you about it. Because if the government says, no, we're going to make it better, we're going to legalize it, we're going to make it better, it's going to be healthier, you're going to be like, oh yeah, but I don't think that that's what's happening. I see more people with anxiety. I see more people losing their hair. Like, there's so much, like, just even in your looks change when you smoke. I wanted to know, after you stopped smoking, was it easy for you to emotionally regulate? Like, in general? Like, were you just, on an average, you were always kind of like a chill kind of guy?
So I kind of want to, before I answer that question, I want to tap on a couple points with the conspiracy stuff and what you were just saying. And yeah, I think it's kind of like a theme within just culture that obviously everything is marketing, including in the sense this YouTube video you're watching for the folks out there. Like, we are in a sense marketing, and so when it's obviously, it makes sense why everyone's like, weed's so good for you, it's going to create creativity, and no one ever talks about the side effects of it. We're starting to, obviously, but it definitely doesn't tap into the mainstream at all. And I mean, that goes for anything too, like even meditation, right? Though they advertise meditation, they have like this beautiful fit person sitting on a mountain. Like, this could be you if you start meditating. But they don't talk about that once you start meditating, issues from your past are going to come up. Memories from childhood are going to surface. But they're obviously not going to talk about that to sell you a meditation course, because no one wants to do that. So I think it's an important like message out there for the people watching. Just, you got to be aware of who is sending you the information and maybe think deeply onto what the goal behind that message is. Because if it's from any sort of news source, like for example, like you said, on the news, they have an agenda and they're going to push that agenda at whatever cost, even if it causes harm in the long run. Because then of course they can just talk about, oh, well, marijuana is bad, our bad. Here's some more stuff. So yeah, I wanted to quickly touch on that. And then in the terms of the next question, was I always a chill guy? No, that was actually, I was quite the opposite. And when I quit weed, all the anxiety I'd pushed down, all my insecurities were just right at the surface. And basically this last 6.5 years has been kind of healing that and addressing it, finding peace with it, learning how to let it go. This sounds very like hippy dippy and stuff. I really had to learn how to just live with it and be okay with it. So like they say, like with the Hulk, it's like, how are you always so, like, how do you, I don't know, what does he say? How do you not get angry? And he's like, I'm always angry. So when someone says, how are you not anxious? I'm like, well, I'm always anxious.
You said that you feared, obviously, going to jail. You feared, like, not being able to, like, have access to, like, the new age and how life is changing. But did you ever have any other fears outside of that, like, when you, like, in your teenage years while you were smoking?
So the only time I smoked really in my teenage years, besides after like 18, was that time with my cousin. And yeah, a couple things came up, a couple like traumatic memories, but I obviously pushed them aside. Once I got into college and I started smoking with people who were like smart, I'll just say that. It sounds a little judgmental, and I'll explain in a bit. Like growing up, I went to like a small high school in southern Wisconsin, and so we were like, if you smoked weed or did anything like that, you were like a druggie, right? If you remember that term, being a druggie. And everyone looked down on you, like, and I was in sports, so I was like, I'm not a bad kid, I'm a good kid. And so I got into college, and all the good kids, all the kids that are smart and excelling in school, were smoking weed. It like humbled me to me. I'm like, oh, okay, I was a bit judgmental here. Everyone does it. The fear started to kick in though after probably like after the first year, when one, the weed stopped working as well, and two, I realized like life, like becoming an adult became real. I'm like, my grades weren't doing well. So a big fear, to answer your question, was not having like having to go work at McDonald's for the rest of my life. And then being so socially isolated and socially anxious that I would never meet a partner. I would never get to date or anything. I know you're a dating coach. So all that fear was super real. And I'm like, ugh, I was like, I don't want that to be my life.
We talked before, obviously prior to this, and we talked about like, I mean, at least for me, I definitely smoked because I feared like every year that passed by, I'm like, I'm getting older, and like the older you get, you're in proximity to death. You're just kind of 1 foot out the door. And so you said that you were 19 and you were already kind of like, oh shit, I'm getting old. And
yeah.
To me, that was kind of crazy. Like, I can't. 19 though was like, what were you smoking? Were you smoking that crazy stuff? That gas?
We were dabbing pretty hard, so I think that might have contributed to it. Yeah. Did your
parents ever ask you why you were smoking outside of, like, you know, the obvious like fight, like, why are you smoking? You should be not that kind of fight. Like, did they ever have like a compassionate conversation with you?
You know, my folks were very passive, so that is something I missed. I think growing up is a little, what do you call it? Structure, and being able to like talk to somebody and like share what I'm going through. Like, there wasn't any talk about problems. It's like the answer, if like there was something going on, it was like, well, you should be grateful we have all this. We are middle class, by the way, but we have everything we need. You shouldn't be complaining. And so I learned to just kind of ignore if there was ever an issue or ever something that came up.